as a society, we become very aggressive, we become very intolerant, we become, just look at our road traffic sense, right? Everybody wants to break the signal. We want to sort of come on the wrong side. And why do you expect that what we become as peoples on ground is not going to be carried in air?
And I think they don't realize that we're not just there to serve them food, but we're there to save their lives in case of an accident that happens or something. I just feel that a lot of it is basically to do with social conditioning as well.
The way the Indian airlines train their staff and the way the Europeans train their staff, it's different. I think in India we are very service oriented, too so. The customer is God. We are not able to draw a line. So I think that's where the problem is.
Very often we don't treat people with dignity, and that attitude carries in the air. So I think some level of accepting that people who are working are there not to serve you as servants, but to serve you in helping save your life, I think will make a big difference. Because if you treat them as waiters in disguise, then you're clicking your fingers, you have the superiority complex. I think we need to get over that.
Guys, good evening. Thank you for joining me on Table Talk. Today we're looking at why are the Indian travelers so badly behaved? Why are we so obnoxious? Why are we so lousy when we get on a flight or when we hit an airport? So joining me today is Tehseen Poonawalla, a friend, an entrepreneur and a political commentator. Also joining me is Jyotsna. She's a former flight attendant, and Vishal Davar, who is a senior flight attendant. So looking to get their perspective as well. Of course, a quick reminder, Jyotsna Mohan on YouTube. That's where you click, like, subscribe and share.
Was this something that was waiting to happen, the last two incidents, the fact that it's reached this level where a passenger is, urinating on a co-passenger in a flight, given the kind of travelers that we've become and we are increasingly becoming, is this just, was it just, like I said, waiting to happen, just another incident?
Yeah, but air travel in India reflects how society is, right? Because who's traveling? You and I are traveling, right? This larger society. So it's a reflection of how society's become. Now, I'm not saying that everybody in society is going about being on one another. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, as a society, we become very aggressive. We become very intolerant. We become, just look at our road traffic sense, right? Everybody wants to break the signal. We want to sort of come on the wrong side. So, and why do you expect that what we become as peoples on ground is not going to be carried in air? That's one. Number two, even in air travel, maybe it's lack of training, or lack of discipline, lack of etiquettes. But by and large, even in domestic travel, people are very rough, if I can be polite, for lack of other words. So there is lack of privacy, there is lack of respecting another person's space. You will always inevitably have that one person pushing you in the line, as if we go fast in the plane will take off faster and reach faster. So you'll have them standing up as soon as the plane is taxiing, and always somebody getting into an argument with the staff, the cabin crew. So that is something that you've seen, and that's on a rise. It's not something on decline.
Vishal, let me get you in. What is your reaction, being a senior attendant, you're still a flight attendant, you're still in the job. What is your reaction when you hear of incidents like these?
I think a lot of it has to do with also, like, he rightly pointed out, with a lot of our upbringing. With what we are taught about what is okay, what is not okay, what are the norms. I think in India we are also very used to breaking the rules, doing things and getting away with it, and that is definitely a problem. Having said that, Indian passengers in general, I think because of the fact that you have help at home, and you don't have to be rich to have help at home. You have help, even if you're a middle or a lower middle class person, somebody to come and clean your floors and cook for you and wash your utensils. And I think this also then kind of reflects to entitlement that they feel on board, in terms of treating us, how they talk to us, the lack of respect, and that's to do with the job in general. And I think they don't realize that we're not just there to serve them food, but we're there to save their lives in case of an accident that happens or something. I just feel that a lot of it is basically to do with social conditioning as well. You don't see such kind of a situation more with European. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it's a blanket situation. But you don't see such a situation happening on flights where more Europeans, or let's say flights not out of India, are there.
I would say, it's not something new. It's always been happening. I've been flying for, I flew for 25 years. And these kind of incidents did happen even earlier. And it's just now because of social media and stuff that people are getting aware. And I think it is to do with in context of Indian passengers, it has to do with lack of awareness, one, and the mindset that we grow up with, as Vishal said, and also the kind of training the airlines give you. I think that is quite important. The way the Indian airlines train their staff and the way the Europeans train their staff, it's different. I think in India we are very service oriented too. So the customer is God. We are not able to draw a line. So I think that's where the problem is.
And also the way the crew reacted, there was just absolutely no empathy when it came to this incident. Of course, it's a mixed balance. There's another flight where a crew member is told she's just a servant. What can change? Because we've spoken about the fact that there's no privacy. They don't stand in queues. They're standing and taking out the overhead luggage even before the flight is landed. What do we do?
As somebody who travels twice a week domestic, okay, and I always fly 1A. That's something that I do. Invariably, I will have somebody who's from the behind rows keeping their luggage where my luggage is supposed to be. Invariably, it's just that I have made an effort 15 days earlier to block my seat or contact the airline so my seat is blocked, etc., and made that effort, right? It doesn't give you a right from behind to come and block my cabin space, and it's just lack of respecting my space, my effort, because I am also traveling on the same airline as you are, and that extends to, as Vishal rightly said, the in-flight cabin crew. So many people are so rude to them, and I cannot, for the love of heavens, understand why you're so rude to people who are not here to just serve us, but like Vishal said, take care of us and make sure we have a smooth flight. It even extends to, and I'm saying this because we're talking in context of urination, the way they use the toilet. Invariably, and I feel terrible, I have to ask the staff to service the toilet because there is lack of hygiene. In most cases, airline crews are empathetic, they do take charge. I didn't understand why they didn't first move this woman to a first class. Why they didn't sort of take stricter action on this person. You could have called the captain. The captain could have ordered that he be tied, whatever. See, somebody's getting drunk. It's not that suddenly somebody's got drunk, right? The crew is trained to look into the cabin. So there is business class at what? In that particular flight, 4 or 5 seats would have been occupied. You would know that the passenger is creating a ruckus. It's not that he's going to get up and pee. And I'm being very direct, right? He would have been loud. His behavior, there are behavioral patterns that the crew, and y'all are the professionals, are trained to observe. So that crew should have observed that he's getting out of hand, he's stuttering, he's walking around, he's loud, he's obnoxious, and that then should have been informed to the captain. A decision should have been taken pre-hand, and once he behaved the way he did with that woman, she should have not been moved to another seat, should have been moved to first class. I am stunned that Air India allowed this to happen, particularly now that it's run by the Tatas, and the Tatas also run Vistara, which in my mind is the best business class airline today in India. So I'm stunned that this was allowed to take place.
Chal, you're still working with an international airline. How would it have played out differently?
First of all, we generally gauge passengers while serving them alcohol. You kind of get a basic feel while serving them alcohol. You make small talk. You kind of try and engage them to see how are they slurring in their speech, how is their body language and everything. The moment we start detecting that a person is reaching a point where they start slurring or becoming a little bit inebriated, where they're unable to even, let's say, stand properly, that's definitely a point where we say, that's it, they're not getting any more alcohol. Of course, we try and do this in a very professional, polite manner and tell them that, look, maybe you need to take a glass of water. We'll give you a small break. Be a little bit busy in the back. We'll come back to you in a little while. Kind of buy time that way or something. But I cannot understand. We would not even need to go and ask the captain, for example. We have that, in this case, the freedom to go and then seat the passenger on another seat. That's not the freedom. We have to do it. You have to find another, unless of course the flight is completely occupied and there's not a single seat available. I would still not ask the passenger to sit on the same seat because it's full of urine, which is not just smelling, but it's also unhygienic as well. And from what I heard is that there was a seat available in first class and the captain refused to upgrade the passenger. And that for me is a complete situation. Even if this passenger was not a business class, even if they were an economy class passenger and the only seat available was a first class seat, after a situation like this had happened, let's say in economy class, I would still choose to seat the passenger in first class and put them there because they need to have a hygienic, clean environment, apologize. And of course, a report has to be filed as well. The police should have been called irrespective, even if the woman had not demanded that a complaint be filed against him. For us, it's definitely a no-go situation. This is an unruly passenger. He has created a situation which involves the non-safe passage of not just for safety reasons of, let's say, bringing a plane down, but for safety for other passengers. And this was a situation where another passenger's safety was involved, where it's hygienically is also a part of safety, right? And yeah, we would have definitely handled it extremely differently. I'm failed to understand why Air India chooses to dig itself into a deeper and deeper hole.
I just want to ask something, both of y'all, as a passenger, say if you see this happening, right, and I come to y'all as in-flight crew and I ask you this has happened, does the in-flight manager have the authority to take a decision, or does the final decision, or you have to go to the captain to change the passenger seat? I mean, as a layman.
As a layman, we don't need to go to the captain to reseat a passenger. That's definitely not part of going to a captain. Captain, we need to go to in case a passenger has become violent, where in case the captain needs to make a landing in somewhere in between, because then they need to see quickly which are the nearest airports. They need to plan. They need to contact the ground tower and speak to them. But in this case, where a landing was probably not required in between, we would not need to go to the captain for this.
You know, the problem in these Indian domestic airlines and Indian Airlines, Air India, is the hierarchy, I feel. In most European airlines, you're all the same. You're treated equally. But whereas in the domestic airlines, you really have to go step by step. So I think they are not, the crew is not really empowered to make their own decisions. So,
I mean, Rachna is right in terms of, that hierarchy exists. Even it does exist even in it's actually meant to exist even in European airlines. It's just that for decisions like this, it's not that relevant as it is made to be in let's say a domestic carrier in the East. Part of the training that's done by European airline where safety overrides, it's a line where you basically then say, no, this is a part of safety, and here I need to take control, and I can make a decision on my own. And that I think is a very delicate balance that has to be created, actually. Yeah.
Somebody's clearly drunk, urinating on somebody, creating a scene. I don't know. I mean, there is no question of hierarchy here. The in-flight manager, he or she should have taken the decision. Exactly. I would have tied the person up. I mean, tied him to a seat. Why would you need, I mean, why does the captain need to get involved? Unless he's heading towards the cockpit.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand again.
Yeah, no, the person should have taken a decision to upgrade the passenger. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. In Air India, you have to ask the captain. You know, you have to ask the captain to upgrade the person, because that's the system they follow.
But you know, Tehseen, I think mindsets and all of that is going to take a little bit more time to change. The takeover has happened, but I think there's just so much that is entrenched in the Air India system that I think both for the crew and I think for the traveler, I think a lot needs to be changed. But Rachna, you know, I wanted to ask you: have you, you know, you were your profession, more than 2 decades long profession. I mean, did you come across these kind of unruly scenes, and you know, how did you have to cope with it?
I've had a similar incident, but luckily the person didn't urinate on a passenger, but he urinated in the aisle.
It happened in
and
November,
let me tell you, most airlines cover up. most airlines cover up. It's a fact.
Why is it a vested interest to cover up? Again, I'm just trying to understand. Won't it be easier to deal with this head on rather than covering it up? You don't want such troublemakers in your flight in any case, because to save this one troublemaker who's paid for one seat, you're going to lose, in this case, the 4 other people who are in business class or 5 other people, or the 180 people in economy. Why would you want to cover it up? You're ready to lose 180 seats for one passenger? It doesn't make business sense.
Yeah, Vishal.
So I'll be the devil's advocate here, and I'll play the devil's advocate for Air India. The only reason that I could think of that why would they want to cover up a situation like this, or even do the mediation, from what I heard from the lady, force her into a mediation with this guy who'd urinated on her, is because maybe they wanted the situation resolved. It involves a lot of paperwork. It involves calling the police. It involves, you getting late because you have to stay back till the whole situation is resolved. You would probably be called back for asking what happened and everything. So I would put it down to, unfortunately, laziness is the only reason that they would not want to file a report, not take it up. Maybe, and here's another, again, I'm playing a devil's advocate here. This particular passenger, airlines have status programs. And maybe this particular passenger was a very high status passenger for Air India. Again, I said it's not an excuse. Everybody should be treated equally. Again, they may have said he's such an important person for us. He's been flying with us. He's a frequent flyer. He brings us a lot of business. Let's try and diffuse the situation and put it down. And he's willing to apologize. Let everybody get back to their own lives or whatever. Like I said, for me, it's definitely, I would not have done it in this way. But they may have done this because of these reasons.
So, Vishal, it's often said that the India sector is like the punishment sector for the crew. Is it true? Is there like some kind of special focus that goes on these Indian flights, or specifically maybe North Indian flights?
Yeah, so Delhi, Bombay, I would say, are the 2 worst flights for most European carriers to fly into. Bangalore and Chennai are relatively much calmer, and people being a little bit less aggressive is the only way that I can put it. We know how people, like you had earlier pointed out, how people are on streets in Delhi while driving, how aggressive they become. And this is just a Delhi culture, I think, about being aggressive and being demanding. I'm sure this guy, when he thinks back to what he's now lost or what he's created, he's lost his job. He's created a huge situation. He must feel terrible. I hope at least that he feels terrible. His actions are not excusable in any case till now. I don't understand why would he want to do that. Was it a kink? Is he a little bit crazy? Does he require psychological evaluation? These are all open-ended questions for me that I can't think of.
No, you do require psychological. You do require psychological. Forget anything else. But the fact that you drank as much, even if it was playing the devil's advocate, a mistake, that you couldn't control your urine and you urinated on somebody else, thinking that that's a person. You're drinking so much you require help. In any case, that requires help. But from what Vishal said, I just want to take this further. Even when you travel internationally, so one is airlines, but even when you go to hotels, and I remember very clearly. So sometimes it's a little embarrassing that the housekeeping has to come and check before you check out, especially if you're Asian. And it's not good because we represent our country, right? We are all carrying the Indian passport, and you shouldn't be doing this. It's embarrassing. And it brings an unfair name to 1.4 billion other citizens.
Absolutely. The Bali incident, yes. The whole family.
Yeah, the Bali incident.
With all kinds of paraphernalia, and then just, of course, now everybody's talking about how we should not be serving alcohol on the flights. It's about shooting the messenger. It's a odd case hai. We are, as Tehseen is saying, we're a population. We're such a huge population. Usme se 2 aise incidents, how does it matter? But, really, what is the solution? You've been on that side. What is it that, as a crew member or a former crew member, what is it that you would like to see from the Indian traveler?
Let me tell you, the Indian traveler has also improved over the years. Since I started flying, the way they, even the baggage they carry, the way they behave, it has improved. I feel we need to be educated. We need some kind of etiquette training.
I feel that basic social awareness about how to behave, etiquette, how to handle alcohol, how to treat people with respect is a situation where we need to start changing, not just in schools, but back basically at home as well. Because, you know, in the school, you spend a certain amount of time. It's a lot of people, I think, they pick up their, even though the school teaches them the right thing, even at home, if their parents and their people living in the house don't give them a right example, whatever's taught in school is also lost at the end of the day. So it has to be a complete holistic approach where we have to learn how to treat people with respect. So this is what we are taught even during our training, that actually what you drink on ground is about you multiply it by 3. So let's say 1 glass of a wine, or let's say a shot of whiskey that you have, is equivalent to having 3 shots in the air because of the pressurization. And it's like basically to do with altitude, because they pressurize the cabin to be at a certain altitude. As you go on altitude, oxygen levels drop, and the way the alcohol reacts with your body is far, far worse than what you would do on the ground.
This gentleman who urinated on the woman was highly educated and highly qualified. So education is not the answer. I think etiquette training. Also, as a civilization, Asia, particularly Southeast Asia, I think we need to be more mindful, as you said, Vishal, of how we treat people with respect and dignity. Very often we don't treat people with dignity, and that attitude carries in the air. So I think some level of accepting that people who are working are there not to serve you as servants, but to serve you in helping save your life, I think will make a big difference. Because if you treat them as waiters in the sky, then you're clicking your fingers, you have the superiority complex. I think we need to get over that. And I agree that a lot of people have improved, but that still needs to come in.
Okay, can I just say one thing? I think most people always got away with bad behavior. And I think this incident, I mean, shameful as it may be, I think it's good. It's made people aware that you cannot behave like this on a flight.
You can't keep penalizing the aircraft and say, ban this, ban that. Tomorrow, if somebody picks up the merchandise the airline selling, are you going to ban that? The answer is the airline needs to be tough with passengers. There has to be no nonsense. And initially, the airline tried to get away by only banning this guy from flying for 30 days. And that's where the line has to be drawn. Not by saying alcohol should be banned. I mean, that's ridiculous, in my opinion.
No,
yeah, absolutely right.
Have you come across any passenger who's, you know, resisted the fact that you're saying, okay, we can't serve you any more alcohol, you've had one too many? And what happened?
Of course. Almost everybody who's inebriated has had too much alcohol and wants more alcohol. And if you tell them directly that you can't have alcohol, they will not react in a very positive manner. They're going to react aggressively and say, why not? I've paid for my ticket, I've paid for this. Like I said, so you have to be very, very diplomatic about how you go about it. Of course, if the passenger gets overly aggressive, you need to put a firm stand and say, I'm sorry, you are not in a situation to handle alcohol. And if you continue further, we will be calling the police once you land, because you're going to be behaving like an unruly passenger. We're going to rule you as an unruly passenger. First way is to try and do it diplomatically and tell them, look, sit down, have a glass of water. We'd have a little bit of a trick as well sometimes, like in the sense where there's a little bit of a borderline situation. You make them a drink where you put water first. Let's say somebody wants a whiskey and with water. You pour the water first and you pour the last, just a couple of drops of whiskey on top. So when they drink it, they think it's loaded with whiskey, but it's actually just the top that they're drinking, and it's actually got almost no alcohol.
You know how Indian passengers behave with Indian flight attendants is different. You know, so if somebody was behaving with me in that manner, I would kind of try and tell him diplomatically, and if it didn't work, I would make, you know, because I worked with a European airline, I would make the European flight attendant go and attend to the passenger, and that used to really work. It's very
but is that shameful?
Yeah.
But isn't that shameful?
It is.
Why? Indians are not lesser than. Why would you have to?
I think Indian passengers just treat you like, you know, they're domestic. They think you're the domestic help, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. They have that attitude.
Well, yeah, but that's what Vishal and I are speaking about. That's shameful, and that's not how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. I mean, we've seen it, right, in that recording of I'm really glad that Vishal and Jyotsna, you guys could just join me today to give us an idea of really what's going on, and hopefully I'll get you guys more. I think it's really important to also listen to the other side, and I'm so glad you guys gave us that perspective, right, Tehseen?
That's true. Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
But thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.